Okay, we're just waiting for some people to arrive. And then hopefully we can start in the next minute or two. Interesting. Why is it doing that? There I am. Okay, I'm going to chat box up to see if I can do that before we start. Okay. So I've got everyone on mute. So I'm not sure, just checking that everyone can hear me. Yeah, so I haven't put video on for most of you, in fact, for any of you. So it'll just be me talking predominantly. And if you have any questions, do type them and I can communicate that way. It just saves interruptions. So if you've ever done any coaching with me online, you might be used to me having you on screen and chatting to you. This is going to be a little bit different. It's just me talking pretty much for hopefully no more than an hour. It might be a bit less. It depends what we kind of get through. Great. And you can also see me as well, Shanina. Brilliant. Okay, so I'll make a start then. Hi, I'm Jo Gora, and I am a career development coach. And I'm also a specialist women's coach. And the reason I wanted, hi Hayley, the reason I wanted to do this webinar today was really in light of everything that's just been going on. I mean, you can't escape the fact that we are living in unprecedented times. Things feel really scary, things feel really out of control actually. And I thought, given the work I do, which is to a large part is based around women finding their power, I thought it'd be really useful, hopefully anyway, to come on here and to talk a little bit about how we can find our own power, in not just in certain times, but very difficult times. And we're going to talk about the word crisis today, because that's what we're facing as well. We're facing a crisis. And how do we step up as women to manage that and to make our experience of that a better one which we can benefit from, one which other people can benefit from, and get ourselves through it pretty much. Because for all the changes that are going on, for all, the disruption that we're facing, the bottom line is a lot of us could get sick. A lot of us could get really, really ill. And this is predominantly, also safeguarding our health here as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we actually look after ourselves. I'm not going to go into practical information or anything like that. I'm not a well-being or health coach. But just in the case of acknowledging that we do need to look after ourselves, and how we can approach that. So that's why I'm doing this session today. I'm going to pop the chat box down there. Okay. Now this is my first time doing this as a webinar, and already you can see it's going to be a bit tricky. Okay. So why am I talking about power? As I mentioned before, it's unprecedented times. And I think a lot of women also have a little bit of an issue around the word power, and what it can mean to them. So when I say, I'm going to do a session on power, I can almost feel that, I'm not sure I want to get involved in that, like the tension in the room. But it's really pure and simple. Power, and I'm going to show you in a minute, is nothing more than ability. So if you look at the definition from the Oxford English Dictionary, it's the ability or capacity to do something or act in a particular way. So all I'm talking about here today is, how do we do this? How do we actually get through it? And how can we do it in a way which means something to us as women and which can benefit others? When I did my women's coaching certificate. It was actually a women's leadership certificate. And the concept behind it was that we are all leaders within. We all have our own way of leading. And this is not to say that you have to get up and, give speeches or manage teams or do anything like that. It's about leading your world, what you're capable of making a difference in. And right now it feels very much at the center of our own world. Our immediate family, we're having very much to care for them as our priority, our extended family and our community. So power, for me anyway, is about that ability to do that in a really effective way. Okay. So for anyone who hasn't done any coaching with me before, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the soft power paradigm. I sometimes refer to this as well as feminine power. But it's the idea that not all power has to be forceful or something that is really strong in the very physical sense, or sometimes authority is the word when we use to describe power. The idea of soft power is it could be agreeable, it could be calm, it could be gentle, or it could be yielding, which for again a lot of people can be a difficult concept. Well, how can something calm be powerful? How can something gentle be able to have impact? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit. I mean, I've done this quite a few times now, to put it into context. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the sun and the wind parable, where the sun and the wind are having a conversation, and they see a man down in the street, and the wind says, "Oh, I'll bet you that I can make that man take his coat off." And the sun goes, "Yeah, okay, you're on. I'll bet you can't, and I bet I can." And the wind goes, "I definitely can. I can do this." So the wind gets all, blustery, gets his wind behind him, his power, and he just starts to blow. And he blows, and he blows, and he blows, but the coat doesn't come off. In fact, all it makes the man do is tighten up and keep the coat on, because he's actually making him cold, and he wants to protect himself against the wind. So the sun goes, "Okay, step aside." And what does the sun do? Nothing, but just shine and shine and shine. And that brightness, that heat, that strength comes from a very gentle place. It comes from the point of within. It comes from the core of that thing. And it sends that message out that this is strength. And of course, if the sun shines stronger, you get hot. You want to take your coat off. So it's really effective. And that's kind of how I see the whole soft power paradigm, if you want to describe it. It's the idea that it's so strong, but it's not how we understand it before. It's not this forceful, do this or you get this, I can make you do this kind of approach. It's really gentle, but so powerful. And it's not actually about men or women either. So this soft power paradigm that I'm talking to you about today, the opposite of kind of a soft power paradigm would be a masculine paradigm, which in effect is what we're living in today. We're living in a society that is predominantly fed and led by the economy, and men mainly built that economy. So it's really to their rules, and which is why a lot of women that I coach at the moment find it quite difficult sometimes to align how they view the world and how they want to do things with how the world is doing things around them. And it's not just in work, but it's also at home. When we look at how we run our houses, how our parents have lived, how their parents have lived, a lot of that is based on a masculine approach. And it's very hard to shake that off if it doesn't feel right to you. So when we talk about soft power, masculine, feminine paradigms, we're not actually talking about men and women though as such, because men and women can have both types of energy in them, yin and yang. So it's really about how we approach something and how we choose to use certain power to the best effect. Because let's face it, sometimes it is really effective to have a really strong forceful approach, especially when you need to get something done, when there's an urgency around it. And one of the things I'm going to show you today has that in it. But it's not the only way, and it's not often the best way. There are other ways of doing stuff to get really effective results. And that's what I'm going to show you today, and the way I approach some of the one-to-one and group coaching that I do. Okay, so I'm going to, oh, golly, go back. So I'm going to introduce to you something which I use to help women identify with power and the concept of power. And this comes from the one of many, I think it's on here actually, have I got it on here? Yeah, so I'm a one of many certified coach. And the stuff I'm going to talk to you about now comes directly from one of many teachings and how I did my coaching course. And these 5 women here in our corners and on the centre as well represent our kind of core pillars of strength that we can take from. And the idea is that they are archetypes. They are very recognisable figures that we all understand roughly what they stand for. So you can see right in front of us here we have a pregnant woman. She represents a mother. Next to that we have the queen in the corner. Although she hasn't got a crown on, she's a certain type of queen. In the bottom right we have Warrioress, who has a lot of that masculine energy which I just spoke about. Bottom left we have the lover, who represents actually self-care and self-love, as well as being able to give out love to others. And the tiny little one here, who's actually probably the most powerful to some extent, because I actually would argue that they're all extremely powerful in their own way, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is the sorceress. And she represents that potential to tap into other power that might be around us that we're not necessarily seeing every day, but we might be aware of. And wisdom comes from that often. So it's a lot of wisdom in the sorceress. So what I'm going to do today is just take you through briefly the power types, and talk about what they represent, and then talk about how much more significant they are now we're in crisis, and how we can kind of tap into that type of energy to get us through. Okay. Just to say as well that obviously the archetypes that we use here are recognisable across all cultures. That's the whole point about the universal and globally recognised. They all have strengths and weaknesses. So these aren't perfect figures, and they're not one type of person is this. At the end, I'll invite you to do, if you wanted to, a power type profile, just something you can go away and do yourself if I give you access to it. And you can work out at the moment where you're accessing your power and how you're using it. It's changeable. It's not, something that has to be you or something that describes you, but it is there to be played with, to be brought up, to be brought down, to be balanced. And they can help you access power in different types of situations. So if you look at the mother, she's nurturing, she's caring, she's connected to nature, cycles and seasons, and she inspires courage in others. So if any of you have got children out there, you'll recognise her straight away. She's not a natural go-to for some women. For a lot of women I see, she's kind of a high scorer in the profile. And for a lot of women, there is a kind of natural affinity with the mother, whether they have children or not. People go to her for care and safety. The only thing you might find with the mother is she can sacrifice more than she needs to, and she can give to others instead of herself. Sometimes that's necessary, but sometimes actually she should be given more to herself to get the best for everyone. Because by giving all the time, you don't often be the best results, not only for you, but also the people around you, because then you're not presenting your best self. So the mother has, this amazing ability to care and nurture, but you have to watch that, you don't give too much mother if you're not looking after yourself as well. So how do we look at the mother in crisis? So you can see it all around us now. All over, I can just see women assessing a situation, knowing what they have to do, getting straight in there and looking to see where they can support and help. So I put risk assessment on here. You know, if you've got children, the first thing you'll do is you'll go into a room and you'll immediately hone in on the dangers, and you'll say, okay, I've got to be really careful here. That could happen. That could happen. And it's in the crisis. It's kind of happening in, you know, magnitude. We're all looking out to see what's happening. We're trying to keep our eye on the need. So we're really good at picking up that information and assessing what needs to be done. And then usually we put a plan in action. That's someone else who kind of gets that done. Talk about that in a minute. Community focused as well in a crisis. You know, the first thing we often think about as a kind of mother power type is to think about everyone else first. Okay, because we want to help others. The idea that we can soothe the fear, we can help alleviate that fear, especially, you know, very immediate with children, but also the elderly around us potentially. And lots of us as women have reached out to our elderly neighbours and helped to support them. And that's something which I think is a tremendous strength, especially at a time when we all need each other. And women are so powerful in getting that message out that we need to support everybody. And at the same time, then she runs home and she looks after her family, her immediate family. And that's exactly what's happening in this crisis. You know, that immediate need to look after your family, because let's face it, we can't escape them right now. And then second to that, as well as we're keeping an eye out for the people around us, we're giving a lot of care right now and a lot of nurture. And that's an amazing strength. And it's so powerful, because actually what you're seeing is a shift in how we actually hold our values, or how our values maybe come to the surface more, maybe because we're allowing it to, because it has to be that way. In a maybe more masculine paradigm, we maybe wouldn't be allowed or wouldn't be encouraged, should I say, to go that far. But now it's a crisis. Now that people need each other, it's really come to the front, and it's really, really powerful. So mother in a crisis is great, but to be really super effective, you need balance around that, because what you don't want is a mother power type charging ahead going, yeah, I'm going to care for everyone, I'm going to do all that I can, I'm going to make sure I give all my time, and then they crash and burn, because actually they're sacrificing at a point when they need to also look after themselves, especially when people, as I say, are getting sick, and we need to make sure our health as well is prioritised. So mother is great, and again, you see this quite a lot at the school gates. We can't wait to help each other. You know, we're there going, yeah, I'll do it. And then actually stop and think, have I got the capacity to do that? What is that going to do to me when I get home exhausted and I'm good for nothing when I get home? So mother, if you have a strong mother power type in you, it's so effective, but it needs to be curbed so it doesn't become sacrificial. You don't sacrifice your own needs, basically, to get things done. Okay, next up is the Warrioress. And a lot of you may recognise Warrioress as well as something quite dominant for you. The Warrioress gets stuff done. You know, if you've got a job and you want someone on it, Warrioress, straight in there, bish, bash, bosh, Yana, and she will get that job done. A bit like mother, too much of Warrioress, and we see burnout. You know, we've got to temper that desire to get stuff done. Again, she's another sacrificer. She sacrifices for a cause, though, not just, you know, out of love and care. She will sacrifice because it's something she really believes in. And again, this can kind of come to the front when we've got a crisis. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But that need to kind of say, no, this is wrong, or this is what I believe in, it really pushes her to sacrifice. She will go to the nth degree for it. Again, I see this a lot in the women that I coach. They have, you know, quite often there's this need to get in there. But she's also really playful. She's fun. She's super resilient. And if you knock her down, she'll get straight back up again, you know, 5 times. She's hard. But she has fun with it. And that's the nice thing about Warrioress. And that's the difference from a really kind of masculine way of looking at this type of power. Masculine power in this would be just push hard. Whereas the playful element, it brings it back to its feminine side. So although the Warrioress has a lot of masculine power in her, that playfulness tempers it to make it more soft and to make it more feminine. But just be careful again with Warrioress. If you have a lot and you're go, 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 you can go into something called, you know, one of many phrases, superwoman. And again, you see this quite a lot where people are going, I just don't know how she manages it. She's just doing so much. Wow, you know, amazing. We almost kind of respect it and say, well, that's just so good. And in reality, it's doing no good at all, because she's push, hits the wall, out. And that's when we get extreme burnout. You know, high levels of stress, anxiety kick in when we're just doing too much and we're not actually asking for help, we're not getting the support we need, and we just keep going and going and going. So Warrioress, again, is great to get the job done, but has to watch that ability to look after herself. Okay, so what's Warrioress like in a crisis? So this idea that she really stands for a cause, really, you know, believes in the cause, means that she will stand up for others as well to support them. And again, we're seeing it all over the place when we, for example, can see that there's an injustice going on, seeing that people are being selfish maybe at the moment, where they're going in and taking lots of resources away from people who really need it. You'll see warrioresses popping up going, wait a minute, that's not right. We can't do that. We need to do something about this. And you know, it's about that movement that we then move forward. Often it's the women or the feminine energy that will stand up and say this isn't right, so they can push as well for what's needed. And Warrioress in a crisis is very resourceful. She'll find a way. You know, if it looks like it's completely bleak, how can this be? They'll find a way. You know, and again, a lot of women are so good at that, of saying, okay, well, this is pretty dire. This is, you know, as rubbish as it gets, really. What can I take from it? What can I do to get the things done that I need to do? I'll find a way. And she has the courage for herself and others to do that. So she will step aside and say, okay, that's not right. But she'll also have the courage to see it through. And I think, again, that's so powerful, to be able to tap into that energy and go, do you know what? I can feel this, can feel it isn't right. And you know, the Warrioress also acts a lot on instinct. I mean, a lot of the power types do, actually. But that instinct of like, this isn't right, therefore I'm going to do something about it. It doesn't sit well with her, you know? So she has that courage to turn around and go, no, this isn't right. So if you're lower in Warrioress, if your power type says actually don't use it, it could be a fear of kind of taking a stand, even though you might feel it. And you can work on that. There's things you can do. You know, there's a lot of the stuff I do then with women, will give them exercises to enhance that, to be able to tap into that. So we use embodiment exercises. We use music a lot, that sensory attachment to click in, to think, okay, wait a minute, if I'm going to, you know, do this, I need some surge of energy really to get there. So the more you practice it, the more you can become more comfortable at using certain power types. So for some women, they find this, you know, really easy, almost too easy, and they'll go into Superwoman. And for others, they can find it difficult to get there initially, but with practice, they can, because it's really powerful. So we talked a lot about two power types who sacrifice. And when we talk about sacrifice, we talk about not having enough self-care, not looking after yourself because you're going for other people, you're helping other people, which is where the lover comes in. And often when I mention the lover to, you know, a group of women, they'll start getting all giggly and go, oh, lover, oh, that's not me. You know, I'm not lover. Because it has this connotation, obviously a sexual connotation to it. And there is a sexual element to it. You know, if someone's got like a lot of lover in their profile, you can usually tell, you know, that they're usually kind of really well groomed. They have this kind of energy that kind of oozes out of them. They make you feel loved. You know, you'll meet them and they'll be like, oh, darling, come over here. You know, make them feel like the most, you know, important person in the room, whether you're a man or woman or, you know, sexual or not. It's really about that connection with somebody else, and they give a lot of love out, and in return they get a lot of love. So it starts with yourself. You know, it starts about looking after yourself, and the lover really is about self-care. And we hear this banded around quite a lot at the moment. Self-care, self-care, make sure you're looking after yourself, self-care. But what does that actually mean? You know, it's about prioritizing yourself first and foremost. The analogy of getting on a plane and the life mask, the oxygen mask comes down, and the first thing that, you know, the announcer says is, you know, don't attempt to put on someone else's mask until you've got your own on first. And why is that? Because if you don't actually get yourself ready to go to help, you can't help anyone else. You're pretty useless. Much better to sort yourself out first, and then you can get on with the job and looking after everyone else. So the lover really is in that kind of central role of looking after yourself and making sure that you are well cared for first. So it's not an afterthought to say, oh, actually, I'm a bit tired. You know, so it's not an afterthought to say, I really could use some exercise. I'm feeling really angsty, or really like I need to get some energy out of me. Or I've forgotten to eat today. Oh God, I should really find the time to do that. It's a flip reverse. It's okay, got to make sure I get some sleep. I've got to make sure I eat. And if I really need exercise, which, you know, most of us need to some extent in different forms, then prioritizing those kind of key things that you really need first. And that's what's really good with the lover. The lover never goes without. You know, she's always prioritizing herself first, to the point where, you know, if it's kind of too much, she can come across as quite selfish and quite, you know, self-centered. But more often than not, I see a lot of women who don't have a lot of lover in them, and they aren't looking after themselves first. You know, their priorities are bottom of the pile, and it shows. Not because they don't necessarily look like they're not looking after themselves, but in terms of how they approach things and how they are showing up. Usually really tired for a start, or a bit grey, a bit lackluster, because they haven't got a lot of energy oozing out of them, which is loving energy. The other thing about lover as well is she brings ambience and beauty. Now, in a crisis, what can that look like? We'll look at that in a minute. But the idea that, you know, wherever she goes, she just touches this kind of magic around her, and she makes everything look beautiful. So it's not just herself; she brings it to every situation, and she really cares about that. So it's high in her priorities again. But with ambience and beauty, again, it brings happiness. So sometimes people will kind of say, oh, it's a bit dismissive, you know, it just looks pretty. But actually beauty can be something which is of real value and power. And again, if there's not enough of self-love, then it becomes potential neglect, self-neglect. The other thing about the lover as well is, this is right at the beginning, but she also is a source of creativity and inspiration. So again, you know, seeing it all this week, especially if a lot of the women have been getting onto schedules for home educating and getting really creative and excited about producing them all. Other women get a little bit anxious about that. Me. So it's really good that this kind of desire and creativity comes out of this love that they're giving out. Okay, so lover in a crisis. She puts herself first. She recognizes that actually I'm no good to anyone else unless I get myself sorted first. I can do more good by making sure I'm firing on all cylinders. You know, it's that feeling of, oh, I better get to bed tonight because actually I've got a really big day tomorrow. I've got such and such, you know, it's maybe not something that's not necessarily all the things that you want to do, but you recognize that it's there. So you then prioritize your needs first. Sorry, I've got to go, get to bed. She finds a beauty in the grey. You know, you could look at this situation as a really negative grey situation, despite the sun shining. You know, the lover will turn around and go, oh, actually, but we have this as a byproduct. We have that time to spend with our children. We have that renewed view of the world. You know, she'll see the bright side almost of everything, and she kind of gets excited about all the new possibilities that can come out of a crisis. And as a result, focuses on that and builds that so that it is something that is beneficial going forward. So we don't just lie in the grey and go, oh, I can't do this. Oh, this is rubbish. no, we can actually turn it into something else. And the lover is the one, the catalyst for that, and gets things moving. And she brings pleasure to alleviate the suffering, you know. So the lover is probably the person who's sending all the jokes at the moment, or those videos. I've got one friend that, in particular, who I know is on it. You know, she's got a lot of love in her. She's sending me all these, like, because she's making everyone laugh, she's sending out the love, you know, and obviously we then send it on because it's funny. But, you know, that's just a really simple idea. But the idea that you're bringing pleasure to kind of hit the pain. Whereas the mother comes in and she wants to cuddle and soften, the lover will act with a little bit of cheekiness and a bit of humour. But she gives that love unconditionally. She doesn't ask for anything in return because she doesn't need to. She gets it because she is so loving, and because she oozes it. People want to help her, and people want to give that love back to her. So it's always an unconditional love. She doesn't really ask for anything back in return, but she often gets a lot of it, and usually more. Okay, Queen. Queen, again, I tend to see a lot of women who would like more Queen in their profile. Not because it says here the most obvious leader, not because she is the most obvious leader, but because she's really good at putting boundaries in place and being really clear and saying, no, that's not going to happen, or yes, I would really like that to happen, so I will try and aim for that, I'll make it happen. So she is the most obvious leader for obvious reasons. You know, we have head of state who's a queen. And whether you like the royal family or not, she has certain traits that are really powerful. I mean, we've seen it really, really recently, nothing to do with the current situation, but just before that, obviously they had this whole situation where one of her members of the family wanted to leave. I mean, that never happens. I know we're living in crazy times. That's another one. But when it happened, she was so clear. Okay, if that's what you want to do, then this will happen, that will happen. Take it or leave it. Off you go. And that's the queen all over, you know. She doesn't dilly-dally. She doesn't mess around, and she tells you exactly how it is. But she does it from a point of care. You know, she's not doing it to be dictatorial. She's doing it because she knows what's best. Because the queen is all about vision. The queen is all about understanding what the bigger picture is, what the best thing is for everyone. And she's very clear in her boundaries. You know, if that was to happen, no, that's unclear. Therefore, this is the way it's going to be. And because of that, she inspires a lot of respect and loyalty. And you have to look at, you know, royalists around the country who absolutely adore her because of her stance, because of the way she is. And people seek her guidance. Saying that as well, she also takes counsel. She also seeks out guidance. So she knows where she stands, she knows her vision, but she also makes sure she's got her realm, her people in there advising her the best way of doing it. She knows she can't do it on her own because it's too big. Her vision is too big. So if you're applying it to an individual, it's about understanding where you want to be. It's understanding why you're doing what you do, and what your goals are. And once you understand that, you can get really clear where your boundaries are. And that's when things start to change. So if you're fighting against something, they won't listen to me, or my children are doing this, playing up, or my husband won't listen to me, or I just can't get what I want at work. My manager doesn't seem to take me seriously, for example. That's a really good example of where the Queen's power can come in and can change things and go, okay, I don't want to act like that anymore. I want to actually be really clear about what I want. So I'm going to put some boundaries in. I'm not going to run around and do things in the way I've done it before. I'm going to start saying exactly what I want, and I'm going to start giving people exactly what I said I'm going to give them. And it's a real game changer for a lot of women. And when it comes to power, it's super powerful. So let's look at the Queen in crisis. She often is the voice of calm, you know, because we look to her as a leader. When a crisis kicks in, straight away, so what do we do? What do we do? We're all panicking. We're all, you know, what the voice of calm will come in and say, okay, this is what we need to do. After stopping and thinking about it and getting really clear herself. She won't just jump in and respond. She won't pull her sleeves up and just, get in there like the warrioress. She won't automatically want to soothe everyone. She'll think, okay, what's the best thing I need to do here? What's the first thing I need to do? And she'll be very strategic about it and look and work out what's the next thing. But she does listen to her heart. She's a very feeling kind of power. It doesn't come from, it's not a head power, although the head will ultimately rule. It comes from the heart. It comes from a caring point of view. And she makes sure she has all the information that she needs before she takes action. So again, if you're looking to assess things like in the cry, I felt it these last few weeks, I just don't know what to do. What's the right thing to do? The government aren't giving me the guidelines that I need. They're not being abundantly clear. What do? I go to my queen. What would the queen do? What's the right thing to do right now? In my gut, in my heart. So for example, if you think the right thing to do is to not be going out mixing blah blah, or you should hold back, then you just listen to it, and you kind of act with that kind of knowledge that you're doing the thing that feels right to you. And she provides vision to others. So if people again are unsure about what the right, she'd be the person who might explain that, or she'd be the person who brings it all together so they're all on the same hymn sheet. That's the power of the queen. She recognizes it and she moves it and changes it. Okay, so just coming up to Sorceress then. So I usually talk about Sorceress last, although a lot of the women I coach have quite often fairly high Sorceress in their profile, and then often not aware of it, and they say, oh, surprised by that. Because the Sorceress on the surface looks like someone who is kind of really into spirituality, really connected to like maybe kind of higher powers. And that's definitely in the realm of the Sorceress. But the Sorceress can also be very instinctive and full of wisdom. And she's someone who you would kind of go to for that. If no one else knows it, the Sorceress would know it. I bet they know it, Or that feeling of, my intuition is telling me something isn't quite right here, but I'm not quite sure what it is. Whereas the queen, her heart says that's not right. She's really clear. Don't like that. Whereas the Sorceress, you're thinking, something doesn't feel right. Why is that? Is it because something else is going on here? So she's able to tune into other things. She's very, as I say, intuitive and discerning and connected. So she's able to just connect to that higher power that may exist for some women and may not for others. Some women really don't connect to the Sorceress at all. But what you might find if you don't connect to the Sorceress, initially anyway, is she has that little element of magic, that sometimes you can think, how did that happen? That wonder. And if you're a very black and white person, you can sometimes miss that. So again, it can bring a bit more light into an otherwise grey feeling kind of life. And again, from a feminine point of view, there's a lot of play, there's a lot of power around play and fun and magic and all those other things that make the world more beautiful because of it. And she inspires faith and trust in others, a bit like the queen. So she's not too dissimilar to the queen. And whereas people are loyal to the queen, people go to the Sorceress for wisdom when they don't know what to do. And again, what are we living in? We're living in a time full of uncertainty. We don't know what to do, and what we can do in that situation, a bit like the queen when she goes with the heart, is just connect up and just go, do you know what? What feels like the right thing to do? Where are we going with this? What am I going with right now? And she's very attuned to energy and how energy moves, and she can use that to great advantage because she's able to tap into that wisdom that we all have. It's not something magic in reality. It's just something that's in us. We know what the right thing to do is, whether it's a build-up of values or who we are or nature, whatever it is, but it's all there. And we are energetic beings. We are made of energy. So we connect with energy in lots of different ways. Now, I'm not here to tell you this is how it is. There's other energy up there. I'm just saying that a sorceress power will be able to tap into energy or power that isn't necessarily directly in front of your face. So a really good example is the idea about manifesting, about how you can manifest things. And say you're running really late one day and you think, you know what, I just need to get that parking space right next to the door and I'll be fine, I'll get in there. And if you believe in it, chances are you'll either get it or get quite close to it. And you think, oh, that's a bit weird. How did I kind of know I needed that? And it actually turned up. The more you trust that, the more those coincidences will happen. You know, and it's about letting that happen. And the sorceress is really good at opening that kind of energy. So it's one of those ones that you might be sitting there going, yeah, whatever. Whereas, you know, some of you might be going, oh yeah, that's totally how I feel. That's why I put it at the end. But I also put it at the end as well, because in lots of respects, she's the kind of overriding power. I say, if you're not sure what to do, okay, maybe I can just tap in, maybe stop and just let the answer come to me rather than trying to overthink it. If it's becoming really crazy in your head, letting that go somewhere is often a sorceress power, knowing when to let go and just go, stop. You know, so at the weekend I got really quite overwhelmed with everything that's going on, feeling not out of control, but feeling powerless. And I was just sitting there and I was like, what? And the only thing I could do is just get out. I just needed to get out and just walk by myself, obviously, you know, not near anyone else. And just connect and go, okay, just let the head go, let it all out. And just see what happens when I come back. And it was just so good just to and not think of anything and just walk away and just be. So she's very good at surrender. So we'll talk about it in a minute, actually. So the sorceress in a crisis has the faith. You know, she's the one where if you can't see a way out, can't see how this is going to change, can't see the good in it, she's the one with the faith that will go, do you know what? No, it's fine. We'll get there. It will happen. I'm not sure what it's going to look like or how it's going to happen, but it will happen. Don't worry. And again, when everything around you is feeling like it's going to fall apart, tapping into that, okay, if I just stop, take a moment, go to wherever I need to go, whether it's through meditation, through yoga, through exercise, through crying, it's a good one. Whatever it is for a release, to get you to that space where you just let it go. Oh, where did that come from? Was that the sorceress? Oh, weird. Okay. If it goes to, if you just let it go, then what could happen? What might actually come in? And again, super, super powerful if you can get to that point and play around with a power type like a sorceress. Because she trusts in life and itself. You know, if you get to that ultimate point of power where you go, do you know what? Whatever happens, I'm going to be all right. Because I know how to ride a storm. I have skills. I have love. I have people around me that I care about and I will fight for and I will do what I need to do for them. It's going to be all right. So getting to that point is where I think she's just so powerful, because when you don't know what's going on and you haven't got a clue how it's all going to be okay, she steps up and she takes it to another level. And that's what I think a lot of us are doing right now. I don't know about you, but I am trying just to let this kind of wash over me to some extent. You know, bringing in the other types of power types, getting stuff done, giving out love, nurturing, supporting. That's all I can do right now. So I've got to trust that that's enough. I've got to trust that we're all working in that energy and we'll get there and we'll sort it out. Because she surrenders to what she can't control. You know, and right now, this is bigger than us. It's not something that we can just go and stop. We have to go with it, but in a way that makes it better rather than makes it worse. And a lot of that is about surrendering. Okay, if this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do to get to this point of safety. Let's all do this together. Okay, And that brings me on to the last point. Gosh, it's like I wrote this myself or something. Don't do this alone. So power is all well and good, but we are not all powerful. Does that make sense? We can't do this alone. Someone, it's really actually super powerful to identify and ask for the help that you need, because all great leaders have a great team around them. And in times of crisis, you don't make decisions by yourself, except if you're maybe the president of the USA. You go to your advisors and you ask for counsel, and as the Queen would do, would take all the information on board before they actually make the decision. So we're not expected to doing this by ourselves. In fact, we need to ask other people, and that starts at home, especially when I'm seeing at the moment women running around going a bit stir crazy and a bit over anxious about this whole homeschooling. It's not just our responsibility to homeschool. I know many of us might be in a financial situation where it feels like that. But really it's about finding a way to strike a balance. So yeah, maybe you might be doing the majority of it, but there needs to be support elsewhere to do that, because we can't do everything. We can't suddenly take on a whole new profession overnight and expect to carry on and do that. A, learn how to do it, and B, carry on our existing role. It's just too much. So something's got to give. Identify what that is that's got to give, and be okay with that. We are not perfect. No one is expecting us to be, especially at the moment. This is an imperfect time in our lives, and we just need to get on with the best we can do, in terms of best for the situation we're in. And if we can find the power to do that by identifying our strengths, working out where we can draw more power from it, then all the better. And we can pull in all the resources we need as and when we need them. So even if you're in a situation where you're like, well, okay, I haven't got anything or anyone directly with me to help me, what am I actually going to be able to do? Get resourceful, start thinking about where you can draw that in. We've got internet, we've got technology, so use it. So actually, that's it. We've got to the end of the webinar. It's online. I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, please pop them in the box and I'm happy to answer them. I know some of you made some really nice comments, which is lovely. And it looked like we had actually a man on board as well. So Dan, I hope you enjoyed that. So great to have you here. I hope you can find the power to get through this. I personally think we will do just fine as women. We are doing the best we can do. And one of our biggest assets is that we do actually communicate really well with other women. And we talk about how difficult things are, where we're finding our problems. And I think we just need to carry on with that. But do watch that we're not doing too much. There's only so much we can do, and we need to stay standing at the end of the day. And that really is the most powerful thing we can do, is keep ourselves on our own 2 feet. Okay, everybody, I'm off now. Have a great time tomorrow with your children if you're looking after them. If you're not and someone else is looking after them, then make great use of the time that you have, and let's just make the best of this really, really bad situation. Bye-bye.